Have you ever had an itch that made you wonder what your body was saying? As we age, our body speaks subtly through aches, fatigue, or even itchiness. And while most people shrug off a little itch as nothing more than dry skin or a passing irritation, the truth is where that it shows up on your body might be revealing far more than you think. Certain areas of chronic itchiness in seniors have been linked to serious underlying health problems that could silently shorten your lifespan. That's right, something as simple as a persistent itch could be your body waving a red flag, warning you that it's time to pay closer attention. You need to watch this video until the end because we're going to uncover 4 specific areas where itchiness could signal deeper health concerns, giving you the knowledge to recognize these warning signs and take action, potentially adding years to your life with more strength, clarity, and peace of mind. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video. You can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. Number 1. Persistent itchiness on the lower legs. One of the most subtle, often overlooked, yet potentially revealing signs that something deeper might be amiss in your body is a persistent, nagging itch on the lower legs. At first glance, it's tempting to dismiss it as a minor annoyance, perhaps the result of dry skin, a change in weather, or simply the natural wear and tear of aging. After all, who hasn't experienced an occasional itch? But when this sensation lingers specifically around the calves, shins, or ankles, and there's no obvious cause like a rash, bug bite, or visible irritation, it could be a quiet clue that your body is trying to tell you something important. Medical professionals have increasingly noted that this kind of chronic itchiness, particularly in older adults, might point to an underlying issue with circulation, specifically a condition known as peripheral artery disease, PAD. This occurs when the arteries that supply blood to your lower limbs become narrowed or blocked, often due to a buildup of fatty deposits, reducing the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the legs and feet. When blood doesn't circulate freely through those smaller vessels, the skin can become dry, overly sensitive, and prone to that maddening, persistent itch. To paint a clearer picture, imagine 2 men, Harold and Dennis, both in their early 80s, living in the same quiet suburban neighborhood. Harold is the kind of person who's always been proactive about his health. He starts each day with a brisk 15-minute walk around the block, waving to neighbors as he goes. He's diligent about checking his feet and legs for changes. Years of hearing about diabetes and heart health from his doctor have made him cautious. Lately, he's felt fine, with no unusual sensations to report. Dennis, on the other hand, has had a different experience. Over the past year, he's slowed down considerably. His knees ache more than they used to, and he's taken to spending long hours in his recliner, watching TV or reading the paper. Recently, he's noticed an odd, persistent itch creeping up his lower legs, most intense around his shins and ankles. It seems to flare up at night or after he's been sitting for a while. At first, he blamed the dry winter air and slathered on thick layers of lotion, but the relief was fleeting. The itch kept coming back, sometimes waking him from sleep as he scratched absent-mindedly. What Dennis doesn't realize is that this could be more than just a surface-level irritation. It might be his body's subtle way of signaling that blood flow to his lower extremities isn't what it used to be, a warning sign of poor circulation that's been brewing beneath the surface. So, what's happening when circulation falters in the legs? It's not just about the skin feeling itchy or uncomfortable. When blood flow is restricted, the tissues in your lower limbs don't get the oxygen and nutrients they need to stay healthy. Over time, this can lead to more than just dryness or sensitivity. The muscles may start to weaken, cramping up more easily during movement. The skin itself can become thinner and more fragile, prone to bruising or slow-healing sores. This isn't just a local problem either. It's a ripple effect that impacts your entire system. The legs are often referred to as the second heart because of their critical role in helping pump blood back up toward the heart through a network of veins and muscles. When they're not functioning optimally, it puts extra strain on your cardiovascular system. Research has tied poor circulation in the legs to a higher risk of serious conditions like heart disease, stroke, and even cognitive decline, as the brain relies on a steady supply of well-oxygenated blood to function properly. For someone like Dennis, that persistent itch might be the first whisper of a larger issue, one that could escalate if left unchecked. The science behind this is fascinating yet straightforward. In peripheral artery disease, the reduced blood flow triggers a cascade of effects. Nerve endings in the skin can become irritated due to the lack of oxygen, sending itch signals to the brain even when there's no visible cause. Meanwhile, the buildup of waste products in the tissues, normally cleared away by healthy circulation, can further aggravate the sensation. For older adults, this is especially common because blood vessels naturally lose some elasticity with age, and lifestyle factors like inactivity, smoking, or a diet high in saturated fats can accelerate the process. But it's not just PAD that could be at play. Other conditions, like chronic venous insufficiency, where veins struggle to return blood to the heart, or even early-stage kidney or liver issues, can also manifest as itchy lower legs. The key difference with circulation-related itching is its persistence and its tendency to worsen with prolonged sitting or standing, something Dennis might notice if he paid closer attention to the pattern. Here's the silver lining. If caught early, this kind of itchiness doesn't have to be a life sentence. There are practical, everyday steps that can turn things around. Movement is one of the most powerful remedies. For someone like Dennis, swapping some of that recliner time for gentle leg exercises, think ankle circles, calf stretches, or a short shuffle around the living room, could kickstart better blood flow. Regular walks, even just 10 to 15 minutes a day like Harold does, can work wonders by engaging the calf muscles that help pump blood upward. Elevating the feet while sitting, perhaps with a small stool or cushion, can ease the pressure on veins and encourage circulation. Hydration plays a role too. Dry skin from dehydration can amplify the itch, so sipping water throughout the day is a simple fix. Compression socks, snug but not constricting, can support the veins and reduce the pooling of blood in the lower legs. Diet matters as well. Cutting back on salty snacks, potato chips, and adding foods rich in antioxidants, like berries or leafy greens, can help keep blood vessels healthier. In some cases, a doctor might recommend a checkup to measure blood pressure in the legs or run tests for PAD, especially if the itching comes with other signs like cold feet, numbness, or a pale bluish tint to the skin. If you've been brushing off an itch in your lower legs that just won't quit, especially if there's no rash, allergy, or obvious trigger, don't let it slide. It might feel trivial, but your body could be waving a quiet red flag, asking for a little extra care. For Harold, staying active keeps him ahead of the game. For Dennis, recognizing that itch as a call to action could be the first step toward feeling better. Not just in his legs, but throughout his whole body. Listen closely. Your shins might be trying to tell you something worth hearing. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 2. Unexplained itching on the upper or mid-back. An itch in the middle of your back can feel like a minor annoyance, elusive, hard to reach, and easy to dismiss as a quirk of daily life. You might twist awkwardly in front of a mirror, enlist a friend to scratch it, or rub against a door frame for relief. But what if that persistent itch isn't just a surface-level irritation? What if it's your body's subtle way of waving a red flag, trying to reach you with a message that could matter far more than you realize? For many older adults, unexplained itching on the upper or mid-back isn't just a random occurrence. It can be a clue to something deeper, a whisper from within that deserves attention. It's tempting to chalk it up to the usual suspects. Dry skin from a harsh winter, an irritating shirt tag you forgot to cut out, or maybe a reaction to a new soap. Those explanations make sense on the surface, and sometimes they're right. But when the itching lingers, when it keeps coming back despite lotions, softer fabrics, or a change in routine, it's worth digging deeper. One of the lesser-known yet potentially serious culprits behind this kind of itch is dysfunction in the liver or kidneys, two powerhouse organs that quietly keep your body in balance. These vital filters work tirelessly to remove toxins, regulate fluids, and maintain the delicate chemistry of your blood. When they falter, the effects ripple outward, and one of the earliest signs can show up on your skin, particularly in areas like the upper or mid-back, where nerve endings are densely packed and sensitive to changes. Imagine two women, Dorothy and Janice, both 76 years old and living in the same small town. Dorothy's always been proactive about her health. Regular checkups, a tall glass of water first thing in the morning, and a skincare routine she's stuck to since her 50s. Her skin's still smooth, and she rarely complains about discomfort. Janice, on the other hand, has been feeling off lately. She's more tired than usual, even after a full night's sleep. Her ankles have started swelling by the end of the day, and she's noticed an itch creeping across her upper back, especially at night when it seems to intensify. At first, she blamed her old wool sweater, then her laundry detergent. She's tried slathering on moisturizer and even switched to a hypoallergenic soap, but the itch persists, a nagging sensation she can't shake. What Janice doesn't know, what she hasn't yet connected, is that this stubborn itch might be her body's way of sounding an alarm. Her kidneys could be struggling to filter waste, or her liver might be faltering under the strain of processing toxins, leaving behind a buildup that irritates her skin from the inside out. The science behind this is both fascinating and sobering. When the liver or kidneys aren't functioning at their best, whether due to age, chronic conditions like diabetes or hypertension, or even the cumulative effects of medications, waste products like urea, bilirubin, or other metabolic byproducts can accumulate in the bloodstream. These substances don't just sit there quietly. They can travel to the skin, triggering inflammation and irritation. The upper and mid-back, with its rich network of nerves and relatively thin skin in some areas, become a prime spot for this distress signal to surface. Unlike a typical itch from a bug bite or allergy, this kind doesn't usually come with a visible rash or redness. It's deep, persistent, and maddeningly resistant to over-the-counter fixes like hydrocortisone cream or oatmeal baths. Worse still, it often flares up at night, a phenomenon doctors call nocturnal pruritus, disrupting sleep and leaving you drained, foggy, and frustrated by morning. For older adults, this isn't just a quality-of-life issue. It's a potential warning sign tied to longevity. Studies have shown that chronic, unexplained itching, especially when linked to liver or kidney problems, can correlate with a shortened lifespan. The itch itself isn't the killer, of course. It's what it represents, a deeper imbalance that might be quietly progressing. Liver issues, like cirrhosis or fatty liver disease, can compromise detoxification and blood flow. Kidney dysfunction, such as chronic kidney disease, can throw off fluid balance and waste removal. Left unchecked, these conditions don't just make you itchy, they can strain your heart, weaken your immune system, and sap your energy, affecting everything from your ability to enjoy a walk to your clarity of thought. But this isn't a call to panic, it's a call to pay attention. The good news is that catching these signals early can make a big difference. A simple blood test, like a liver function panel or a creatinine check, can reveal how well your organs are holding up. Pair that with a urine test, and you've got a clearer picture of what's going on inside. If something's off, there are steps you can take to lighten the load on your liver and kidneys. Drinking more water, aiming for 8 to 10 glasses a day unless your doctor advises otherwise, helps flush out toxins. Cutting back on processed foods, which are often loaded with sodium, sugar, and artificial additives, gives your organs a break. Alcohol, a known liver stressor, might need to take a back seat, and keeping salt in check can ease swelling and kidney strain. If you're on multiple medications, common for older adults, it's worth a chat with your doctor to see if any could be taxing your system. Some drugs, like certain painkillers or statins, can quietly challenge your liver or kidneys over time. Beyond the physical, there's a psychological angle to consider. Constant itching can wear you down, making you irritable or anxious, especially if you don't know why it's happening. It's a reminder of how connected our bodies are, skin to organs, organs to mind. So the next time your upper back starts itching for no obvious reason, pause and listen. Resist the urge to shrug it off as just aging. Your skin might be the first place your body waves a flag, a subtle but insistent nudge to check in with yourself. It's not about fear, it's about giving yourself the chance to act, to ask questions, and to keep thriving. After all, an itch might be small, but the story it's telling could be anything but. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment on number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 3. Frequent itching on the scalp or neck. When older adults start feeling a persistent itch on their scalp or the back of their neck, it's tempting to write it off as no big deal. Maybe it's just dry skin from a harsh winter, a reaction to that new bargain bin shampoo, or one of those vague annoyances that seem to multiply with age, like creaky knees or forgetting where you parked the car. At first, it's easy to ignore, a quick scratch while you're reading the paper, an absent-minded rub during a TV commercial. You might even laugh it off, muttering something about old age creeping up. But for many seniors, this isn't just a fleeting irritation or a cosmetic quirk. There's often something richer and more intricate at play beneath the surface, a story the body's trying to tell, one that ties together nerves, stress, and the quiet toll of time. That itch can be a subtle flare, a signal from a nervous system under strain, and it's worth listening to because it might be saying more than you think. The scalp and neck are prime real estate for this kind of thing. They're laced with a dense network of nerve endings, some of the most sensitive in the body, sitting just under thin, delicate skin. These areas act like a barometer for what's happening inside. Physical or emotional, they're quick to pick up the static. When you're younger, stress might show up as a clenched jaw, a racing pulse, or a night of tossing and turning, but it usually fades by morning. As we age, though, the body's reset button gets a little rusty. The stress response, once a sharp, efficient system, starts to sputter. Instead of winding down after a tough day, it lingers, keeping cortisol levels simmering and the immune system on edge. That low-grade tension doesn't just vanish. It finds an outlet, and for a lot of older folks, it lands right on those hypersensitive nerves in the scalp and neck. What starts as a tickle can turn into a nagging, relentless itch, one that no amount of scratching or moisturizer seems to touch. To see how this plays out, let's imagine two men, Leonard and Ray, both 78, living a few streets apart in a quiet little town. Leonard's the kind of guy who's always had a knack for keeping life steady. He's got a modest backyard garden, nothing fancy, just a few rows of tomatoes, some basil, and a stubborn zucchini plant he's been coaxing along for years. Mornings find him out there, hands in the dirt, humming some old tune from the 60s. On evenings he's on his porch with a mug of chamomile tea, taking slow, deliberate breaths, not because he's some meditation guru, but because it feels good to let the day settle. He's stayed connected too. Weekly card games at the community center, chats with the neighbors about the weather, a call to his daughter every Sunday. Leonard's not perfect, but he's built a life with rhythm and a quiet resilience that keeps him grounded. Ray's story is different. He spent 40 years as a mechanic, hands stained with grease, fixing engines, and solving problems. Work gave him purpose and a sense of control. But retirement blindsided him. The garage sits empty now, the tools gathering dust, and his days stretch out with no shape. He's indoors more than he'd like, flipping between news channels or staring out the window at a world that feels too fast and too far away. Nights are the worst, restless, half awake, his mind replaying old worries or inventing new ones. A few months back, Ray noticed an itch creeping in, right at the crown of his head. At first, it was just in the evenings, when he'd slump into his recliner after dinner. Then it spread, mornings, afternoons, a constant little nag at the back of his neck, too. No rash, no flakes, nothing he could pinpoint. He tried everything, a hypoallergenic shampoo, a fancy conditioner his niece swore by, even a new pillowcase made of bamboo fibers. Nothing worked. The itch stuck around, like a guest who wouldn't take the hint to leave. What Ray didn't know, what a lot of us don't realize, is that this wasn't just about his scalp. It was his body waving a flag. Chronic stress, especially in older age, does tricky things to the nervous system. It's not just about feeling frazzled. It's physical. Cortisol, that stress hormone, doesn't just float around in your bloodstream. It messes with inflammation, tweaks nerve sensitivity, and can even throw your immune system off balance. For Ray, all that quiet tension he'd been carrying, the restlessness, the isolation, the unspoken frustration of a life that didn't feel like his anymore, was pooling in those nerve-rich zones. The scalp and neck, with their thin skin and busy nerve highways, are like amplifiers for that signal. Scratch all you want, but if the root is emotional or neurological, no cream's going to cut it. Science backs this up in fascinating ways. Studies on aging and stress show that chronic activation of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the body's stress engine, can sensitize peripheral nerves, making them overreact to stimuli that wouldn't faze a younger person. In older adults, this can show up as itching, tingling, or even burning sensations, often with no visible cause. There's more. Conditions like peripheral neuropathy, where nerve damage heightens sensations, can kick in with age, sometimes triggered by diabetes, vitamin deficiencies, or just wear and tear. And then there's the brain connection. Some researchers have found links between chronic scalp itching and early signs of cognitive decline, not because the itch causes it, but because both can stem from the same neurological shifts, like inflammation or reduced nerve regulation. That's not to say every itchy scalp means dementia's around the corner. Far from it, but it's a reminder that the body and mind aren't separate. They're in constant conversation, and the scalp's a loudmouth in that dialogue. Does it have to be doom and gloom? Not at all. There's a way through, and it's simpler than you might think. Look at Leonard. His life's not a miracle cure, but it's a blueprint. Gardening gets him outside, sunlight on his face, hands busy, mind quiet. His evening breaths, nothing formal, just a few minutes of slowing down, tell his nervous system it's safe to stand down. Connection keeps him tethered. Friends, family, a sense of belonging. Ray, though, had to stumble into it. After weeks of scratching and griping, he vented to his sister over the phone. She didn't have a magic fix, but she nudged him to try something. A morning walk, just 15 minutes around the block. Ray rolled his eyes. How's that supposed to help his head? But he was desperate enough to give it a shot. He started small, shuffling past the old oak tree and the mailbox with the chipped paint. He added a few tweaks. No news after 6 p.m., those headlines were like fuel on a fire. A weekly call to his brother to swap stories about the old days, and even a notebook by his bed to scribble down the thoughts that kept him up. It wasn't instant. Nervous systems don't flip switches. But over a month, the itch started to fade. His shoulders dropped, his sleep deepened, and that relentless nag on his scalp stopped demanding center stage. If you're wrestling with an itch like this, scalp, neck, maybe both, and it's hanging on despite clean bills of health from the skin angle, no allergies, no eczema, no lice, don't just grit your teeth and bear it. Pause. Check the basics. Are you drinking enough water? Is your scalp dry from the heater running all day? But then go deeper. How's your headspace been? Not just today, but over the last few weeks or months. Are you carrying stress you haven't named? Worries about money, health, the kids, or just a vague unease you can't pin down? Is your nervous system running on empty, begging for a breather? Your body's not a machine with isolated parts. It's a symphony, and those nerves are playing a tune you might have missed. The fix could be small, a walk in the crisp air, a chat with someone who gets you, or a few minutes of quiet with a cup of tea, or a pen in hand. That itch isn't just a pest. It's your nervous system tapping you on the shoulder, whispering for a little peace, a little care, a little space to breathe. Give it that, and you might be surprised how much quiets down, inside and out. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. Number 4. Ongoing itching around the chest or abdomen. When most people conjure up images of declining health, their thoughts drift to the usual suspects. A sudden shortness of breath that catches you halfway up the stairs, a dizzy spell that makes the room tilt like a funhouse mirror, or those frustrating moments when a once familiar word dances just out of reach. These are the loud, attention-grabbing signals that something's amiss. But there's a quieter, more insidious messenger that often slips under the radar. The skin that stretches across your chest and abdomen, that wide, vulnerable swath of your torso. When this area begins to itch persistently, without an obvious culprit like a sunburn, a new sweater, or a rogue mosquito bite, it's not just a petty annoyance to be scratched and forgotten. For older adults, this subtle nagging sensation, sometimes a faint, teasing tickle, other times a relentless urge to claw at your skin, can be a whispered warning from within, hinting at troubles like nutritional deficiencies or malabsorption issues that quietly chip away at your body's resilience, immune strength, and capacity to heal itself. Let's step into the lives of 2 women, Joyce and Elaine, both 81 years old, neighbors in a small town where the days unfold slowly and the seasons mark time with familiar rhythms. Joyce is a creature of habit, a woman who still finds a quiet thrill in the ritual of cooking. Her kitchen, with its chipped blue teapot and faded floral curtains, is her domain. She moves more deliberately now, her hands trembling slightly as she slices a crisp apple or tears the leaves from a bunch of kale. Her meals aren't the feasts of her younger years. Gone are the days of roasting whole chickens or baking trays of cookies for a house full of kids, but they're thoughtful. A bowl of oatmeal swirled with a spoonful of honey and a scattering of tart cranberries, a plate of steamed broccoli drizzled with olive oil, and a piece of salmon she pan-seared with a sprinkle of salt. She eats less than she once did, her appetite tempered by age, but she makes every bite count, a small rebellion against time's slow theft of vigor. Elaine, though, has been on a different trajectory. A year ago, she started losing her taste for food. The effort of cooking, standing over the stove, washing dishes, even deciding what to make, began to feel like a mountain too steep to climb. Her days now are punctuated by quick, uninspired bites, a stack of saltine crackers with a smear of margarine, a bowl of canned tomato soup that tastes more of metal than tomatoes, a dry biscuit she dunks in weak tea. She fills up fast, her stomach shrinking or maybe just indifferent, and she doesn't dwell on it. But then came the itching. It started as a faint prickle across her chest, just below the hollow of her throat, like a feather brushing against her skin. Soon it crept downward, spreading across her belly, a soft, persistent itch that seemed to bloom most fiercely in the stillness of evening. Sometimes the skin felt tender as if bruised by nothing at all, or so dry it crackled under her touch, like autumn leaves. She blamed it on age-sensitive skin, she thought, or maybe her lavender soap had turned traitor. She tried switching to a gentler brand and rubbed on thick creams that smelled of aloe, but the itch stayed, a stubborn guest that wouldn't leave. What Elaine didn't know, what many of us don't realize, is that this kind of ongoing itchiness across the torso isn't just a quirk of aging skin. It's a signal, a flare sent up by a body struggling to keep its balance. As we grow older, the machinery of digestion starts to sputter. The stomach churns out less acid to break down food, the intestines grow sluggish at sifting out nutrients, and the liver, once a tireless filter, slows its pace. Key building blocks, vitamins like B12, essential fatty acids from fish or seeds, and trace minerals like zinc, magnesium, and selenium, become harder to extract and store. When these run low, the effects cascade through the body like a row of dominoes tipping over. The skin, that vast protective shield, is often the first to show the strain. Without enough zinc, it dries out and flakes, losing its ability to mend small tears. Without fatty acids, it thins and grows brittle, unable to hold moisture or fend off irritation. Vitamin B12 shortages tweak the nerves beneath, turning them hypersensitive, firing off itchy, prickly messages that no amount of scratching can silence. The chest and abdomen, crisscrossed with a dense web of nerve endings and blood vessels, become a hotspot for this discomfort, a billboard broadcasting the body's quiet distress. But the story doesn't end at the surface. Those same shortages reach deeper, eroding the scaffolding of your health. Muscles, starved of protein and magnesium, weaken and waste, making it harder to lift a bag of groceries or climb a flight of steps. Energy fades as B12 dwindles, leaving you winded by a walk to the mailbox. The immune system, propped up by zinc and vitamin C, falters, letting colds linger or cuts heal at a crawl. Even the brain feels the pinch. Without those fatty acids and B12, focus blurs, memories slip, and the world feels a little hazier. Elaine's diet of crackers and soup wasn't just failing her skin, it was failing her whole system. A handful of nuts could have delivered zinc and fats, a scrambled egg could have offered B12 and protein, and a slice of mango could have brought vitamin C, but instead, her body was running on fumes, and the itch was its way of crying out. The most deceptive part of this decline is how well it masquerades as normal. Malnutrition in seniors doesn't always announce itself with a gaunt face or a belt notched tighter. You can look in the mirror and see the same familiar shape, maybe even a little roundness from years of good living, and still be starving on a cellular level. Your weight might hold steady, but your muscles, bones, and organs are quietly pleading for the fuel they're not getting. That's why persistent itching across the chest or abdomen isn't just a petty irritation to dismiss with a shrug and a tube of hydrocortisone. It's a breadcrumb trail leading to a bigger truth. Your body's engine is sputtering, and it needs more than empty calories to keep humming. Left ignored, it's not just about sleepless nights spent scratching. It's about a slow unraveling of everything that keeps you strong and sharp. Here's the silver lining. This is one of the easiest warning signs to turn around. You don't need a doctor's prescription, a fancy diet plan, or a pantry overhaul to start fixing it. The remedy can be as simple as a handful of walnuts tossed into your day, their earthy crunch packing zinc, healthy fats, and a touch of protein. Or a boiled egg at breakfast, its golden yolk a treasure trove of B12, choline, and amino acids, slipped alongside a piece of toast. A few slices of bell pepper or a juicy peach can deliver vitamin C and antioxidants to soothe inflammation and bolster your skin. Even a well-chosen multivitamin, swallowed with a glass of water and a bite of food, can bridge the gaps when cooking feels like too much. For Elaine, it might mean trading the saltines for a slice of rye bread topped with a dollop of almond butter, or blending a smoothie with a handful of spinach, a splash of yogurt, and a frozen banana. Over a few weeks, the itch might quiet down, the tenderness fade, and the dryness soften. But more than that, she could feel her strength creep back, legs steadier on her daily shuffle to the porch, mind clearer as she reads the morning paper, energy lifting enough to hum a tune while she washes her cup. So if you've been brushing off that nagging itch across your chest or belly, especially if your meals lately have been more about convenience than care, let this be your gentle nudge. It's not just about silencing the irritation or soothing your skin. It's about giving your body the raw materials it's begging for, the fuel to keep its fires burning bright. Aging might bend the rules, slowing your step and softening your grip, but it doesn't have to dim your light. Joyce, with her colorful plates and quiet determination, is living proof of that. Elaine could be too, one small, nourishing choice at a time. Final thoughts. Now that you've journeyed with us through these 4 specific itchy spots on the body, take a quiet moment to reflect. What have you learned so far? Maybe it's how a simple itch on your lower legs could hint at circulation issues, or how that nagging scratch on your back might be your liver or kidneys calling for help. Perhaps it's the way stress can whisper through your scalp, or how your chest and belly might be begging for better nutrition. Your body is always trying to speak to you, and today, you've learned how to listen a little closer. We'd love to hear from you. Please comment below with one thing you've learned today and how you plan to bring it into practice in your life. Whether it's taking a short walk, drinking more water, or checking in with your doctor, your thoughts inspire us and others. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us keep creating content to inform and empower you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.